In this video, we're reviewing Asteroid City and showing you how to make an out-of-this-world cocktail named the Little Green Gimlet. Today, on the Martini Shot. Hello and welcome to the Martini Shot, home of movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails. My name is Brandon, and before we get into the review, let's scour the outer reaches of our understanding with a bright, refreshing cocktail I've named the Little Green Gimlet. And hey, if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to help support the channel. Asteroid City is a hot and humid place to adventure to, so we need something a little refreshing to keep us trucking. Enter the Little Green Gimlet, a riff on a classic cocktail given a bit of a greener galactic sheen to fit right at home with the little green men floating not so far outside of the Earth's atmosphere. And yeah, technically the aliens in the film aren't green, but that's beside the point. This cocktail is a nice, refreshing drink that utilizes cucumber, melon, and lime juice to make an easily sippable experience. Unlike a Wes Anderson film, it's actually pretty straightforward and easy to comprehend. So let's dive in, shall we? Alright, go ahead and grab your shaker. First, we're going to be starting with a little bit of fresh cucumber. For this, you'll be needing 4 slices. You can go ahead and throw those right into the shaker, and now we're going to be adding a little bit of simple syrup. We're going to be doing ½ ounce. Alright, now that you have those in there, let's go ahead and throw in our lime juice. You're going to be doing ½ ounce. And with that done, you can go ahead and move on to your alcohol, first starting with our Midori. If you're not familiar with Midori, it is a Japanese melon liqueur, made popular most likely because of its very vibrant green color. We're going to be using that to not only pair alongside the flavors of the lime and the cucumber, but also to make this gimlet a little bit greener than you would typically find it. And it's very easy to overdo the Midori in a cocktail. It can really dominate the flavor profile of your cocktail, so you want to use a little bit, just enough to get that flavor. So for this cocktail, I would suggest starting with a ½ ounce of the Midori, and then if you feel like it needs a little bit more, whether it be for the color or the taste, I would add another ½ ounce just to bump it up to ½ ounce, and you should be good from there. And then finally for our base spirit, we're going to be using gin, and you're going to be doing 2 ounces. Now we can go ahead and grab some ice, throw it in our shaker, and shake to chill. All right, now you can go ahead and grab a glass. I would recommend a chilled martini glass. And you're gonna do a double strain just to make sure none of the chunks of cucumber end up in the final drink. And there you have the drink, but let's make it a little bit more fancy with a cucumber spiral garnish. And there you go, now you have a Little Green Gimlet. So on the front end, you get the tartness of the lime and maybe even like a little bit of bitterness from the melon liqueur, but then it really starts to open up, become a lot brighter. You get a lot of that cucumber. You get the flavor of the juniper berries from the gin. And the melon flavor of the Midori really starts to come through a little bit more, but it doesn't overpower it. It pairs so well alongside the bright wateriness of the cucumber and the tartness of the lime and the botanicals of the gin. It all comes together very nicely. It's very bright, very refreshing, very crisp. You're not really gonna get like a hint of an alcohol taste in here. A great hot weather cocktail and a very easy one to make at that. You don't have to buy many crazy ingredients. I guess the craziest thing you'd have to buy is the Midori. But overall, I think this is the kind of cocktail you would need in the desert. Something refreshing, something crisp, and something that's very easy to drink to the point where you're probably gonna come back for seconds. Now that we have our drink, let's jump straight into the review of Asteroid City. Wes Anderson is a director people don't seem to fully understand, myself included. On the surface, it's easy to infer the charm of his work comes from his heavy use of pastel color palettes and symmetrical scene framing. If you've been hanging around TikTok and other social medias, you've most likely seen those AI-generated reimaginings of films like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings in his style. While these are occasionally cute, it also kind of confines the public sentiment of the director to just his quirky visual style. And while this is a huge part of his appeal, it's worth noting that the impact of his work goes well beyond this. His films often offset their themes of loss, nostalgia, and varying family dynamics with a quirky theatrical approach, which has made a lot of people love his style and a lot of people absolutely hate it. And I feel pretty confident in saying if you don't like his style, this new film is absolutely not going to win you over. Asteroid City is a meta-reflection on our place in the universe and if there's really a purpose out there. It's a story within a story and a framework within a framework, all tying together those aforementioned themes in such a unique, albeit confusing way that is just pure Wes. The performances maintain the signature offbeat energy the director is known for, balancing both humor and heart in a way that admittedly missed the mark for me occasionally, yet the visuals and the specifics of the world Anderson crafts are still just as gorgeous as always. And in the end, he's managed to craft something so familiar yet so unique that I don't think AI would ever be able to touch it. Like I said, there's two stories intertwined in the film. A play called Asteroid City, which is where most of the conflict takes place, and the formation of the play itself, with the writer and actors trying to figure out what it all means. But I guess if you had to simplify it a bit, the film mostly centers around the visitors of the fictional Asteroid City, a tiny desert pit stop home to a crater, a bunch of cactuses, and a research facility studying the cosmos. We mostly focus on Augie Steinbeck, a recently widowed war photographer traveling with his genius son Woodrow and his other 3 daughters. He meets famous actress Midge Campbell, and the two hit it off while also interacting with a colorful assortment of characters that all become stuck in Asteroid City through an extraterrestrial event. The narrative often switches between this narrative and the more meta-narrative of the play's production itself, which can really spin your head at times. Yet you never really feel all that distant from the core conflict, even if it's about a story that isn't really happening. I will say these black and white peeks behind the curtain are arguably less interesting as the colorful world where the main plot resides, but I can recognize their importance to the bigger picture for the most part. This multi-tiered style of storytelling isn't all that unfamiliar to Anderson's work, but here I think it begs for the most attention to it if you really want to understand how and why the story is being told like this. Unsurprisingly, the visuals are certainly gorgeous. The heavy use of oranges and blues really nail this Midwest postcard feel for the main story, while the tale of the story's development is shown in black and white for era accuracy. The practical sets help create a setting that feels real and grounded enough while also having an ever so slight artificial aura to it that mostly makes you aware of the story's theater origins while never actually feeling like you're watching a stage play. As a matter of fact, when the film is focused on the real world, quote unquote, these scenes are crafted and presented in a way far more akin to a play, maintaining the 180-degree rule, utilizing spotlights, and often addressing the audience directly. It's a nice little element that I found to be pretty unique for a story like this, especially when the lines between the two stories start to blur as the film moves into its climax. While maybe not the most outlandish or intricately constructed visuals from Anderson, it's still 100% on brand. As for the performances, I found them all to hit their marks rather well, from the main cast to some of the smaller cameos. There's a bit of criticism of Anderson's work that a lot of his characters sound the same, talking with the same signature dry, rapid-fire wit. And that is mostly the case here, but there is a bit of variety, and truthfully, I don't really mind the similarities. The dialogue moves at such a fast pace that every scene moves right along with very little wasted space. Most of the time, the dialogue is pretty humorous, with the deadpan deliveries really helping to sell each absurdity. I'd be hard-pressed to call this one of his funnier films. I think Grand Budapest Hotel and Moonrise Kingdom might still have him beat there, but each actor does a great job with what they're given, with a few of the standouts for me being Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Jeffrey Wright, and even Tom Hanks, who gives one of his best performances I've seen from him in a while, despite not having a ton of screen time. Most of these characters all find themselves tied to a pretty significant event, which opens them up to discussion about what this event means for them and how the world is perceived. There's plenty of existentialism to dissect here, both in the vein of the science fiction backdrop of the main story and the fact it's presented as a play in the first place. Tons of movies dealing with extraterrestrial events share a similar discussion of the vastness of the universe and our place in it, but this is quite possibly the most personal I've ever seen a story like this get, while also talking about UFOs and aliens. Anderson finds a way to smelt those big feelings down into smaller, everyday issues like the loss of a loved one, world weariness, receiving recognition, not just in success but in your own existence, and complete uncertainty of the world around you. As the curtain continues to be peeled back and eventually completely ripped from the rafters, these themes tie into how we perceive and chase art, begging for clear-cut meaning before realizing the importance of the pursuit as well. If it sounds like a lot, it's because it is. The film can be unforgiving at times, and truthfully, I don't know if these messages always come out super impactful. At times, the shtick of having all of your characters maintain the same restrained, robotic characterization does feel a little bit underwhelming, even if it's meant to illustrate their humanity being withered down by their surroundings. Pretty much par for the course with Anderson's work, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, so like I said before, this probably is not going to win you over if you're on the fence with this director. With that being said, Asteroid City is yet another subversive piece of art from one of the most unique directors working today. It's full of the type of humor, style, and self-reflecting you've come to expect from his work, told in perhaps one of his most complex, if not alienating narrative vehicles in Anderson's entire filmography. Its quirkiness and heartfelt motives aren't always as impactful as they could be, but the film is nothing short of an absolute charm to watch thanks to the offbeat writing, the restrained yet comedic performances, and of course, a beautifully and meticulously crafted world of weirdness. For my rating, I'm giving this film 3.5 meteorites out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Martini Shot. If you saw Asteroid City, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.